Good morning, everybody. Happy Post-Canada Day today. Here we are on Real Lives, Real People with Shyloe, and that's me. I'm Shyloe Fayad. I'm a certified transformational life coach with a project called Plan for Joy, because you know what? We plan for a lot of things in our lives. We plan for vacations, we plan for weddings, we plan for the birth of a baby, we plan for retirement, but we do not plan for joy, or at least most of us do not plan for joy. So part of the Plan for Joy movement is planning for joy by making yourself a priority, by doing things like taking care of your emotional needs, taking care of your spiritual needs. Hi, Jessica. How are you? Thanks for tuning in. And, really digging deeper and seeing what might be down there that you can unearth so that you can move forward powerfully. So I have this show because I'm curious about people. I love being in front of the camera. I'm a bit of a clown at times. And today on our show, we have Cynthia Fehr from Medicine Hat, Alberta. And she and I have known each other for 13 years. We were talking before it started today, and I do believe we met at La Leche League. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a breastfeeding support group for mothers that's worldwide. They have the foremost knowledge on breastfeeding, anything you need to know. They have tons of knowledge about parenting, motherhood, babies. So if you need that kind of support, head on over to La Leche League. There's usually a local chapter in your area. Cynthia, I love Cynthia because she is bubbly and fun and follows her heart. She is very courageous and loves to take good, loving care of her family in the best way she can. And she and I worked a bit together a few years ago, and I got to know her even deeper, and it was a very beautiful experience. So let's bring Cynthia on, people, and see what she has to say today.
Good morning.
Good morning, Cynthia.
Morning, Shyloe.
How are you today?
I'm doing good. It's hot, hot, hot here.
Yeah, great. That's good. Medicine Hat, Alberta's treating you well, I see.
Little sun-kissed, yeah.
Yeah. So let's just get right into it. Hey,
Okay.
we were talking a bit before, and I know last time you and I were working together and were in contact on a regular basis, you had made a big decision to move.
We
Or
did.
you were, I don't know if you'd actually quite made that decision yet, but you had this real calling and you felt like you're being drawn to the Maritimes.
Yes.
Or maybe it was the other choice, British Columbia too. Was there two choices there? I don't remember.
It was British Columbia, and my husband had also applied for school in Saskatoon, and
Right.
we had been sitting out in the backyard, and we're like, okay, which one do we want? And ultimately, we're like, we want the biggest one. We want the one that is going to take us the farthest and the most growing. And it was something we could do more as a family, whereas the schooling was just sort of for him. And this way, it was an experience for everybody.
Right. Great. So tell me a little bit about, I know I sent you these questions, and I'm trying to find them now on my phone because I didn't want them up on my computer because it was making our time lag. But I know you've done some traveling with your family over the last, 3 years, would you say?
Yeah, we moved actually, June 30th was when we handed over the keys because we sold our house. We actually sold everything in our house except for our absolute favorites. So my husband and I and 2 kids and a great big dog with a kennel piled into a minivan. And we took off for the Maritimes. And the only destination we knew of was the hostel that we had booked into for 2 months for the summer. And so that it was just to travel there. We gave ourselves 10 days and just kind of hit up as many things as we could along the way, and did about 500 kilometers a day, so we didn't make it too hard for the kids. Mm-hmm. So from 2014 summer, then we came back the year 2015.
Wow, that's big.
It was a full 12 months, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, arriving in the Maritimes. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have asked you, did you save a bunch of money? Did you have big plans? Did you know what you were doing? Tell me a little bit about what that was like, because to me, from what I remember, it was an adventure. There was none of this we started about a year ago making plans and decided that, it was a true adventure.
It was a true adventure. And honestly, I mean, it was a year in advance that we knew we were supposed to do something. We knew we were going somewhere, and we knew that we would have to move to do that. But we started off, just selling the basics, just the stuff that we weren't using, because we were ultimately going to move our stuff out there. And then we started thinking about it, and we're like, that's going to cost like $10,000. And we didn't want to invest all of that. So we're like, okay, well, so we dwindled it down. We thought, well, we'll rent a trailer, or we'll buy a trailer, and we'll take our stuff with us. And then we started mapping it out, and we're like, we will never make it through all the rocky terrain in Ontario pulling a trailer with our van. And so then it just dwindled down to where we literally taped out a space in our basement, and whatever fit in that space, because it was the size of the back of our minivan. If it didn't fit, it didn't come along. And yeah, you're right. We did not, other than the hostel, we knew nothing. We did not know where we were going to live. We didn't know where we were going to find a job. We didn't know where the kids were going to go to school. It was literally, let's go out and meet people and just see another part of Canada.
So let's go out, meet people, see another part of Canada. That sounds like a great goal. But lots of people do that on a vacation, Cynthia. So lots of people do it on a vacation, but you moved your whole family. So I'm wondering, I'm sure other people are wondering, because people hear stories like this all the time. It's not common, but people pick up and move like that. They'll take their whole family, do whatever. What do you think you were seeking? What precipitated this adventure?
It was a really huge trust thing. I mean, because we didn't know exactly where we were supposed to go, it was something that we really, were seeking. So, I mean, through meditation, through prayer, we were really looking for what is for us. Where is the more? We were searching for what really comes next, and why aren't people doing this now while they're young? Why are they waiting until, I'll do that when I retire. I'll do that when I have money. I'll do that when the kids are gone. Why would we wait? It just didn't seem, it actually seemed less practical for us to wait. It was a different mindset, I guess. And so we just were really trusting that things would roll out. And it was absolutely fabulous getting there, because the people that we started to meet literally welcomed us like family. And I know that that's true to the Maritimes, but I still think that it was true to the way things were supposed to roll out for us. And of course, not every adventure comes without bumps. There actually was a time on the highway where my husband and one child were going in one direction, and me and another child were going in another, just because you're contained in this van, and it's not easy. And we've got kids that have a few challenges, but they were so game to come along. And yeah, it was really just searching for the more. And I'm kind of like that. I have a bit of a gypsy spirit where I don't want to do what everyone else is doing.
That's so cool. That's probably one of the reasons I didn't travel with my kids, for some of those reasons you listed off, because everybody's thinking, oh, it's going to be harder, it'll be more practical when they're grown up or whatever, And so definitely when I was married, that's how I thought. And, after that ended and I got out on my own and really wanted to move to British Columbia, I did something very similar. I just decided when I turned 35, there were some incidences that occurred in my life that sort of precipitated this decision. My son was having challenges. I wanted to get him out of his hometown, or our hometown. But I just moved.
Yeah.
I had no job. I stayed with some friends for a while. I had no plan, no job, no nothing. I just...
I think it makes for a very memorable life.
Yeah.
I think that it takes all the boring out. I think that the more uncomfortable you get, and the more often, the more opportunities come to you, the more you feel an abundance, because you're constantly just open. Your eyes are just open to, okay, something's going to come from this direction, or something's going to come from that direction. And I guess I wasn't satisfied with, the 8 to 5 job and the school schedule and just waiting for vacation in the summer. And, there was just so much more out there.
So what, talking about abundance and all those different things like that were driving you, that you felt enriched, your life as a result of this experience. What would you say would be like one of the things that pops into your mind as being one of the most valuable pieces of learning that you experienced, and how it, like a value piece of learning, how it sort of has changed you or shifted you in some way?
I think that it was the people, because you go on this adventure and you get there, and yeah, we literally had a rental house just sort of come to us, and this community, Wes and I were driving through, and it was like, okay. And I remember you and I talking about how you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it right, in that gut area. You're just going to know that that's your place. And we drove through and we're like, this is our place. I still keep in contact with those people. Oh, I miss them immensely. I cried buckets of tears coming back, because they literally, we had moved there. We just got settled end of August, and we had people welcome us into their home as family for Christmas. Like there's special family Christmas time. It's like, come in and, enjoy our lobster rolls, and come in and try my mom's homemade meat pies. And it didn't ever stop there. Like, I didn't have a vehicle, actually. We just had the van. And, of course, Wes got some work out there just so we could, make up for some of the bills. And I had a woman in my community just down the road and say, you know what, if you ever need to come and, to town and do groceries, I'll pick you up. And she would phone me and she said, let's go shopping together. How about a coffee and breakfast? And how about you come and help me count, lunch money at the school? And she got me involved in the community. And I met so many people through her. She's like family to me now. And it was like the acceleration of friendship went so quickly because I was only there, knew her for under a year, and she will be a lifelong friend.
That's so awesome. So the thing that sticks out for you most is the people and how that affected and impacted your journey. And the fact that you had that takeaway from our time working together, where I shared with you, you'll know it. Like, you'll just feel it in your body when you found the right place. This whole piece about the people piece. Now, I put up on the screen here, you probably can see it, the power of connection. Can you see how I put that up there?
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of quote unquote, I guess, research around this, and not research as in like I've been reading a ton of books, but research more as in I've been working with that concept for years, the power of connection. And it was quite a few years ago where I found a quote by a doctor that says, the currency of wellness is connection.
Oh,
and then there's been an article circulating on Facebook that talks about when they talk with all of these seniors or people who are getting close to, leaving this planet, the thing that was most valuable in their lives, the thing that brought them the most happiness was relationship. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, even from our time working together and developing this ability to connect with oneself, connecting with somebody else, connecting with community.
Yeah.
So have you noticed now that you really had that true sense of community connection, how has that experience affected you?
It's made me change my idea of what home means.
Mm.
Because I was searching, I remember my kids were quite small. It was a very, very cold winter day, and I was walking down the streets, and I cried, and my tears actually froze to my cheeks. And I remember calling out, loudly, I just want to go home. I just want to feel where home is. And for some people that can be family, for some people that can be friends. And I think by traveling and having heart connections, it made Canada more home for me. It made me realize that it doesn't matter where I live, I can create home, and that other people will help create home for me. And spiritually, that doesn't ever leave. So that also becomes a major part of home for me. And I mean, we stayed in hostels and bed and breakfast, and we met people from like many different people from other countries. And around that table, even though we'd only known them for those few minutes, that was our home for that time. And I just, yeah, it absolutely fascinates me. I want to do it again and again. And yet I still want a home base, because I think that's also important, where you reach out and your neighbor is, you know, bringing over a can of tuna, or, you know, you're standing out on the street watching a storm, or, you know, I mean, those things are very important as well.
Yeah. It's funny how you mentioned that sometimes, like you alluded to something to do with like home and family, and sometimes it's your family, sometimes it's other people. And for me, I really experienced that when I lived in Nelson. I remember driving down the main street one of the first days I was there. I was like, this feels like home. It's like a feeling I had always been looking for. It's one of the reasons I left Saskatchewan in the first place, was to find my people. I remember my friend Shane Scobie came, flew from Abbotsford to drive the U-Haul back with me, because I was heading out to that eco village. And he was in front of me with this U-Haul with all my belongings. And I had one of my 4 children in the vehicle with me, which for a stay-at-home mom of 4 kids is quite the major sacrifice, like quite the revolutionary, radical move on my part, right? Because that was my life. I was home with those kids, right? 24/7.
Yep.
I'm behind this U-Haul driving, and I'm thinking to myself, why? What is possessing me to do this? What is it? And all that came was, I want to find my people.
Yeah.
And I found those people in Nelson, British Columbia.
Yeah.
I did. It took me about a year to get really like into the community, because they are quite close, because it's a transient, can be a transit community. But those people there feel like my family, like actual, I'm cherished, treasured, loved, understood, valued in a way I've never been any other place in my life. And I truly miss it. I'm living in Kelowna now, but I truly miss it. But what I've learned from that experience is, it is possible to find the connection that we so deeply desire, right?
Yes.
Yeah. First and foremost, that connection starting with ourselves.
It is. Yes, it is. You have to, because one of the hugest reasons that drew me out there was the trees. I wanted to go, you know, exploring. I wanted, you know, the full nature. I wanted views, you know, beautiful, beautiful views all the time, accessible at any given turn of, you know, direction. And I had it driving. I had it traveling, like anywhere out of my backyard. I had the most incredible river and like a whole huge acre property out my backyard. But that drawing to be in that, and even though the nature fuels me, I still needed the people. I would have been very lonely there, you know, just to have a house and just to have this acre property and not to know these people, or not having them come and go in my life, or, you know, spending that good coffee visit with them. It would not have been the trip that it was.
Yeah, that connection piece. And I like your reference to the connection with nature. That's another thing I really love about being in British Columbia, is the trees, the water, the mountains, and it's very outdoorsy in general. And for me, that is part of the way that I connect to my higher power, just, you know, if you're going to call it that, and connect to myself. And it wasn't until I developed a really good ability to connect to myself that I could really connect to other people in the way that I was so desiring, deeply desiring. And I don't know if you have experience around that connection with self and how powerful that is in terms of connecting with others, or even healing relationships from the past. But
oh, absolutely. I think that if you don't spend that time and that work on yourself, and, you know, find out, what do I love, and where am I going, and how much more do I want in life? And that can be more home, that can be more money, that can be more heart connection, that can be more freedom. Until you kind of figure that out, I don't know if you get to the point of overflowing so that people don't drain you. I think until that starts to overflow, people can, you know, you'll feel that I'm not full enough, and people will either take it from you, or you'll start taking it from other people. And I still think it's really good for us to give, but I think it's very important to give freely. But how do you give freely if you're not feeling that abundance inside of yourself?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, it does really correlate. Like the work that we do on ourselves really makes a huge impact on every relationship in our lives. Mm-hmm. And you know, when you were talking earlier, this is just something that popped into my head in terms of your journey, meeting people, having that big adventure, going to the Maritimes, deciding what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. You know, a few times you kept saying, I felt called to.
Oh, yeah.
Last week I mentioned a bit of spirituality, like a little bit about how I really feel like a strong connection with a higher power is important. You know, that could be nature for people. I know there's a lot of people that are really turned off by the word God. I know that. I mean, I was one of them for a very long time.
Yeah.
But I have a sense that there's a little bit more to that calling for you. Like what, you know, we don't have a ton of time, but if you can share a little bit about that, your own spiritual journey and how it complements your life or how it added to or gave you courage and strength on your travels. I don't know what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I think for me, I feel very, very guided and I feel like the new Moana movie is what I always go back to, because she says in there, the call isn't out there at all. It's inside me. And, you know, I mean, I believe that I am a created being. And so that creativity from what I call God is huge. And that, you know, I seek that out. It's like, okay, so if I have that creativity put inside me, you know, how do I move with that? And you know, there's a voice, or there's a romancing, there's a pursuing that happens. And I mean, I shut that down for a long time, you know.
Interesting.
You know, I put that away, and it's like, but what if I am so deeply loved and pursued and romanced, and then that frees me up, right? That gives me freedom, instead of being held back, because, you know, all of that other stuff, if you're not letting go, it ties you. And that's what I feel like I'm able to do, with what with my God, is that he helps me let go and just move forward and risk and not fear.
Mm-hmm. So I would say that's a huge part of the gift in having some sort of belief in something bigger than yourself, is that concept. Oh, I shouldn't have moved my camera because now I'm freezing. But it is that concept of trust and faith, right?
Yeah.
You know, that concept of trust and faith. Just hold on. I'm just going to grab a couple books.
Okay.
Here are a couple books I've been reading and working on lately, because it's something I continue to struggle with as a highly intellectual person who, you know, really loves science, who really loves to have things I can prove, who also loves to control her surroundings. I love to be in charge. That's why I'm a talk show host, Cynthia. Anyway, so this book, Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender by David Hawkins. Fantastic book. Something I need to do on a regular basis is let go, right? Because really we're all taken care of. We're all here right now.
Yes, that's right.
And this one, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. Because guess what? Wallace Wattles was onto something. He talks about very similar same thing, is allowing yourself to trust in the idea of this supreme power, this thinking stuff that can, you know, goes through everything in the world and can kind of bring you what you want, as long as you really actually truly believe it can happen. Sounds simple, but in practice.
It does sound simple. But I think where people get hung up is that, you know, they get that message and they're like, oh, I want that. I've been waiting for that. And it's like they jump into it and they're like, and then it doesn't come. Right. And then they get worried and they're like, oh, it's not coming for me, and all this, and there's all this like self-down talk, and there's just this negative, and there's this pushback. And I have done that I don't know how many times in my life, but it does come full circle back, and you get to go through it again, and you get another opportunity. And hopefully you've grown a little bit by that time, so you can recognize the opportunity for what it is. Some things you have to say no to. I mean, if it doesn't match up with you, but what is it that you really, really want to do? What is it that you really, really want in life? What did I want? I wanted an adventure. My husband wanted an adventure. And my kids were game for it. So what did we do? We took action and we did it. Did it all completely make wonderful sense and there was no bumps? Absolutely not. I mean, you know, we ended up coming back after a year and that was really hard because we thought we were just going to stay there and it was going to be awesome. And it's like, and that's where we felt guided. It's like, no, you need to come back because I've got things for you to do here. Well, what ended up happening was a major restoration in my family. We came together after 3 years of not being, you know, together because there was a lot of bumps in my family. So there was more work to do. There was more work to do on the inside of me, and that's what we talked about earlier. In order to move to the next, you got to get prepared for that doorway because if you go through that doorway and you're not ready, it's going to knock you down. It's going to kill you. And I think for me, that's where the guidance comes. I have to trust those low parts where not everything is working out exactly how I thought it was, but I have to look for the treasure in that. What do I get in the valley? And I explain this to my husband. You know, we look at avalanches and we think they're the most destructive thing on the planet, right? They come down and they just take out everything. But I said, what about all that amazing goodness and the nutrients that's in those glaciers and all that snow at the top, and it slides down that mountain and it may wipe out some stuff and it may kill some stuff, but it brings nutrients down to the valley that would have never got there had the avalanche not happened. So, you know.
I agree with you, Cynthia, because, you know, we have this idea in our head, right? We have this idea of how things are supposed to be. And when they're not like that, we think it's bad.
Oh, I know.
These bumps in the road are a bad sign. What am I doing wrong? Well, what if you're not doing anything wrong? What if you they aren't actually bumps in the road. It's only your perception.
Yes.
And what if you're not doing anything wrong?
Oh, I have cried buckets of tears over this.
Oh, Laura's there. Hello, Laura.
I have blamed myself. I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't hear it right. And oh, we shouldn't have gone. And no, you know, we spent this money. And, you know, and you go through all of this stuff because it's like, oh, I failed. And I'm like, well, that's a surefire way for me to not feel like getting up in the morning or drinking a massive amount of coffee to get through my day. Or it literally zaps every bit of creativity I didn't write for a long time. And
yes.
Oh, I just was like,
it's all perception, right? We see things with these very human, very results-oriented eyes, right?
Oh, constantly.
No idea about the magic that's going on behind the scenes to our benefit. No idea. We're so self-centered. We're so incredibly self-centered, right?
And it was less than a year, I think, when we had come back and we had gone to visit some friends out in Cranbrook, and there was a visiting a guy that was visiting there anyways, but he pulled me out of the crowd and it was words, I guess, or I don't know how to describe it. The word escapes me right now, but he gave me words and he said, you know, right now you feel as though, you know, God has literally pulled the carpet out from underneath you. And he said, you feel like you're just hanging there in midair. And I was just bawling at this point. But he said, I tell you, as much as you can't see the fruit right now, as much as you can't see the leaves, you are like a tree. And before a tree actually gives anything out on the outside, your roots have to go down. And he said, then they've got to go deep, because what you're getting ready for, you need those roots, you know, and you need to get prepared for what's ahead. And I was just like, I was absolutely fascinated because it was such a true thing for me. And I mean, I love trees to begin with. So
that's a great analogy.
Because I can't see the roots, right? All I can feel is like, I've been doing all this work and I'm not getting anywhere. And when he said that, he's like, but your roots are going down. And I'm like, okay, so I just need to start drinking. I just need to start bringing in more nutrients. I need to be feeding myself right now. I need to be resting right now, and not physical rest necessarily, but just
or physical rest too. Who knows?
And I did, and it was physical rest as well. But it was like, it was such amazing, amazing words for me that really encouraged me to move forward. And once again, it's a heart connection with people, right? You know, somebody came and it was the perfect time and I got the words that I needed to move forward.
Yeah, awesome. Well, our time is wrapping up today, Cynthia. I was just going to ask you, you know, if somebody's is inspired and they want to talk to you more after the show, they want to know a little bit, like how can they get a hold of you or in touch with you if they'd like to ask you a bit more about your travel, how they can do it for themselves and family, or, you know, anything else of your journey, how would they get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me on my website called mygreenlighthouse.com. Or you can reach out on my Facebook page, which is also listed as My Green Lighthouse. Okay,
great. Can you paste that in the comments after the video gets published?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you bet.
That's great. And so I guess that's it today, people. You've been watching Real Lives, Real People with Shyloe, and I've had Cynthia Fehr on as a guest. And if you'd like to get a hold of me, you can always just friend me as Shyloe Fayad or send me a message on Facebook, or you can check out planforjoy.com. I hope you're having a great Sunday. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Much love to you all. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Thank you.
Just hold on a sec here because there we go.